The stage was set, the lights glimmered, and Jin, the eldest member of BTS, walked out onto The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon with a presence so magnetic that even Fallon himself appeared visibly impressed. Performing his title track, Don't Say You Love Me, from his newly released album Echo, Jin captivated both the studio audience and millions watching from around the world. His voice was raw, controlled, and heartbreakingly sincere, delivering a performance that echoed long after the final note. But what happened next shocked the fandom more than anything. HYBE remained silent. No celebratory post, no official clip, not even a mention on their main channels. For ARMY, it felt like déjà vu, another brilliant solo performance by Jin being pushed into the shadows, while other artists under the same label received glossy promotions, banners, and dedicated campaigns. On X, formerly Twitter, hashtags like #ProtectJin, #HYBEPromoteJin, and #EchoOnFallon began trending within minutes of the broadcast, with fans demanding answers for the agency's complete disregard. He gave one of the most powerful live vocals we've heard in months, one fan posted. And HYBE acts like it never happened? Unacceptable. What's even more infuriating to fans is the consistency of this treatment. Despite the fact that Echo reached number 3 on the Billboard 200 and topped iTunes in over 63 countries, HYBE's official channels have remained oddly muted in their support of Jin's solo work. Critics and longtime ARMY are now accusing the label of undervaluing Jin's artistry in favor of pushing newer or trendier acts under their umbrella. Even though Jin's solo releases consistently prove to be commercial and critical successes, the performance on Fallon wasn't just another appearance. It was a declaration. Jin emerged dressed in a sleek black suit, minimalistic but sharp, commanding the stage with a confidence that only comes from over a decade of experience. The lyrics of Don't Say You Love Me, aching, restrained, yet powerful, seemed to speak to something deeper. And now, fans are beginning to wonder whether the song's message was not only about a personal heartbreak, but also a professional one. Was Jin subtly expressing his pain of being overlooked, adding more fuel to the controversy? Even Jimmy Fallon himself posted a snippet of the performance with the caption, "An honor to have this legend back on the show," tagging BTS and Jin directly. Yet again, no repost from HYBE, no reaction, no inclusion in their curated news feed. It's almost as if Jin's success is inconvenient. Fans have now mobilized. Petitions are circulating. Letters are being drafted. Major fan bases are uniting across countries with one collective message: Jin deserves better. Some have even begun to boycott HYBE merchandise or cancel streaming of other artists under the same label until Jin receives the respect and recognition he has earned. This isn't about favoritism anymore. It's about fairness, acknowledgement, and dignity. Jin's performance was not only a milestone in his solo journey, it was a symbol of perseverance, talent, and silent strength. And for HYBE to ignore that is not just a disappointment. It's a betrayal. As the world continues to echo his voice and celebrate Echo, one thing is certain: Jin doesn't need an agency to validate his worth. The fans have spoken, loud and clear. The fallout from HYBE's failure to promote Jin's landmark Tonight Show performance continues to escalate. Fans around the world are not just expressing disappointment, they're mobilizing. From New York to Tokyo, from Seoul to Sao Paulo, armies have taken to digital platforms with one unified message: if HYBE won't echo Jin's voice, we will. Social media campaigns have exploded with creative force. Fan edits of the Fallon stage, trending hashtags, and even TikTok tributes reenacting Jin's Don't Say You Love Me performance word for word. And yet, amid the thunderous noise and chaos of outrage, Jin has remained silent, composed, dignified, and heartbreakingly graceful. No retaliatory posts.
No visible resentment.
Only a quiet smile in the few photos fans have managed to catch of him leaving the NBC studio, bowing respectfully to camera crews and fans alike. That image alone, Jin bowing humbly after delivering one of the most powerful stages of his career, has become iconic. Fans have captioned it with phrases like "True royalty needs no throne," and "He doesn't need a PR machine, he is the moment." While HYBE's silence grows more deafening, Jin's Echo album continues to speak volumes on his behalf. The poetic irony isn't lost on anyone. An album called Echo reverberating across the world while his own company refuses to amplify it. Media outlets outside of Korea have begun to notice. Rolling Stone Japan, Variety, and Billboard Global all published op-eds praising Jin's raw talent and professionalism, subtly criticizing HYBE for missing the opportunity to champion one of its most bankable stars. Meanwhile, speculations continue to swirl around internal tensions. Is Jin being sidelined for political reasons within the company? Is he being too vocal behind closed doors? Or is HYBE simply shifting its priorities toward newer talents and international acquisitions? No one knows for sure. But one thing is certain, Jin's fanbase is not backing down. On August 23, 2025, several international fanbases announced that they would purchase billboard space in Times Square and Seoul's Gangnam district to honor Jin's performance themselves, an unprecedented move meant to publicly embarrass HYBE for their lack of action. But perhaps the most touching part of all this is how Jin's fellow BTS members are quietly but powerfully showing their support. Jungkook was seen liking fan edits of Jin's Fallon stage. Jimin posted a story with lyrics from Don't Say You Love Me. Even RM, who rarely posts during quiet periods, uploaded a cryptic image of a dimly lit stage with the caption, "What they silence, the world sings." Fans immediately interpreted this as a nod to Jin, and it only further fueled speculation about internal discontent within HYBE. As the dust continues to swirl, what remains unshaken is the fact that Jin stood on that stage, sang with all his heart, and gave the world a moment of raw, emotional brilliance. He didn't ask for applause. He didn't beg for attention. He simply performed. And in doing so, he reminded everyone what true artistry looks like. Jin doesn't need a company to make noise for him. He is the echo that never fades. And if HYBE won't recognize that, ARMY surely will. And they already have. The dazzling lights of The Tonight Show had barely dimmed when an even more powerful moment took place. Off camera, in the quiet backstage corridor where Jin, still catching his breath from the emotionally charged performance of Don't Say You Love Me, crossed paths with host Jimmy Fallon once more. What followed wasn't scripted, wasn't broadcasted, and wasn't meant to be captured. But a small handful of staff and crew members who were present have since whispered about the interaction that left Jin momentarily speechless, and may have explained the emotion behind his red eyes as he exited the studio. According to an anonymous source within the NBC production crew, Fallon approached Jin with sincerity radiating in his voice. He reportedly said, "You don't need anyone to validate you, because the world already has." But just for the record, that was one of the most moving performances I've ever witnessed on this stage. Those words, simple yet weighty, struck a chord. Jin, who had smiled and held his composure throughout the performance, allegedly lowered his gaze and gave a quiet nod. And in that moment, without cameras, without fans screaming, without any spotlight, Jin allowed himself to feel everything he had bottled up. The source added that Fallon placed a hand gently on Jin's shoulder and whispered, "They may not be shouting your name behind the scenes, but everyone watching is." That singular moment, quiet, unseen, raw, was reportedly what caused Jin to take a moment alone in his dressing room, delaying his exit from the studio. It wasn't sadness that filled him, but the overwhelming blend of exhaustion, relief, and a longing to be understood, not as an idol, but as an artist. When Jin finally exited the studio, paparazzi photos captured what fans now see with new meaning: his slightly puffy eyes, the tight grip on his jacket collar, the solitary walk to the black SUV. It wasn't just the physical toll of performing that weighed on him. It was the emotional storm of being caught between global adoration and corporate silence. Fallon himself later hinted at the moment on social media, without giving away too much. Sometimes you witness something magical, and it's not even on tape. You just feel it. Tonight was that. Fans immediately assumed he was referring to Jin, and many replied, tagging HYBE, asking, why is Fallon doing more for Jin's solo than his own label? This interaction is now being immortalized by fans through fan art, edits, and even digital recreations of what they imagine happened backstage. Hashtags like #FallonProtectedJin and #EchoHeardLoud continue to trend as armies rally behind their silent hero. And while HYBE remains painfully quiet, the rest of the world continues to echo louder for the man who sang not just with his voice, but with every scar, every hope, and every tear he dared not shed on stage.